The world's just getting lonelier and lonelier. It seems like everyone just feels so alone and lost. It's not uncommon now for guys to be in their 20s and 30s to have no girlfriend or friends. I think a part of the problem is that the way society is evolving and just advancement in technology, and just people no longer want to go outside. Everyone kind of just wants to stay inside all day, play video games and watch TV and be on the internet all day. And I think everyone wants to feel that warm human interaction and actually connect with people. I just feel like technology and the fact that we don't want to get out of our comfort zone is contributing to this loneliness feeling that we all experience. And technology has made everything so convenient that you don't need to go outside anymore. You don't need to go to malls to shop. You don't need to go out to buy anything. You can order everything online and get it shipped to you. And because everything feels so convenient and comfortable, we're just not used to going outside anymore. And it starts to become a habit. Everything we do on a daily basis is a habit. Staying inside is a habit. Playing video games is a habit. Watching TV is a habit. Being on the internet all day is a habit. Whatever you do on a daily basis becomes a habit. I remember back in the day when I was younger, everybody wanted to go outside. Everybody wanted to connect and hang out with friends, go to the park, play tag, and just talk about life. And it was just like, oh, after school, we gotta go out and we gotta hang out with our friends. But that was a habit that we developed, and we found comfort in that, in the things that we do every day. And because the way society has shifted and the way we think has shifted, we now find comfort just being inside, laying on the bed, watching TV. It's created this isolation for everyone, this feeling of loneliness, the lack of human interaction. And slowly we develop anxiety and depression and just feel like we don't fit in this world. And it just seems like as we get older, we just have less and less friends. The friends that we grow up with, the friends that we went to school with, we slowly start to distance ourselves and we kind of start doing our own thing. And we just go deeper and deeper into isolation. And for some of us who grew up without a lot of friends, it just gets worse. And most guys struggle with relationships. And I think it will get worse as time goes on. If you think about it, the reason why guys did not struggle as much with relationships back in the day was simply because of the way society was ran at the time. The way society was. The man went to work, the woman stayed home, took care of the kids. Women didn't really work back then. So a guy was much more valuable and was much more in demand. Women would need to find a man that can protect and provide for them. It may not have been as safe to go outside without a man by their side back in the day. They needed to find a man to provide for them, to put food on the table because they couldn't work. So it was a lot easier for men to get a girlfriend back then. And the divorce rate was a lot lower because everyone had traditional views and people kind of just stick together no matter what they went through. But I don't think enough people talk about this part. Although the divorce rates were a lot lower back then, it doesn't equate to happiness. Just because women stayed in these relationships and marriages, and no matter how the man treated her or took care of the family, or if they were just out drinking and partying all the time, or cheating on them, the women kind of just stayed. Because not all men back in the day actually took care of the family. They could have been out drinking, they could have been out partying, and they may not have been the best father, but women kind of just stayed. Because traditionally when you get married, you kind of just stay forever. You kind of just stayed married no matter what. You don't separate. So just because the divorce rate was a lot lower back then, it doesn't equate to happiness. It didn't mean that women were necessarily happy in these marriages or relationships. But let's talk about why men have trouble getting a girlfriend nowadays. Men have lost their roles in society. The reason why men have trouble finding a girlfriend now is simply because women can now work. So women no longer needs to rely on a man to provide for them. They can have their own career. So now it's no longer just finding a man to protect and provide for them. It's to actually find a man that will make them happy. So now the standard of women have risen. Now you no longer can be the average man that just has a regular career and just makes money. You have to provide much more than that. You have to provide personality and character and actually be able to make them happy. And I think back in the day, a lot of men got away with just having a job, and they may not have been the best person to have a conversation with. They may not have had the best personality. They may not have had any game. They may not have been as smooth, but they can get away with that. Now it's highly competitive. The top men get all the women and the bottom struggle. Now to actually get a girlfriend, you have to not only make money, you have to be able to spit game and be smooth, be funny, be charming, be charismatic, be confident. The standard have risen. And I think that's something that's not talked about enough. And then when you add that onto the fact that online dating exists, it's a lot more competitive. Now you're not only competing with the men that live within your area, within your town, within your city, within your state. You're now competing with men in different states, in different countries, all around the world. And because there's more competition, it's a lot harder for men to actually find a girlfriend. Because women can now pick and choose, and they have a higher standard because they have more options. And when you add on to the fact that everyone just stays inside now, men stay inside, play video games, and be on the internet all day, we lack social skills. We don't know how to have conversation with women. We put women on a pedestal. And I think that wasn't the case back then, because everybody went out, everybody interacted, so it feels normal to talk to a girl. And we probably weren't as shy back then, because we actually talked to women. And it was natural to talk to women. But some men never talk to women. They spend a whole year just staying inside. So when you go out and you see a girl, you feel shy. You don't know what to say. You've never talked to them. It doesn't feel normal. So that's also a part of the problem. It's all these little problems and obstacles that add up and create this challenge for men and make it hard for men to get a girlfriend. But I can see the argument from both sides, where men want a traditional wife and go back to traditional roles. However, I can also see the argument from the other side, because I know so many marriages and just older couples where women are not happy in these traditional marriages because their husbands just go out and drink and party and don't give them attention, but the women stay in these marriages because traditionally, when you have a kid and you start a family, you don't break up no matter what. And a lot of these women are stuck in toxic marriages and they're not happy. And they don't leave because of family. And I think that's not talked about enough. I could see why men don't like the way society is going, but I can also see the reason why women push back on traditional values. Women no longer need to stay in abusive or toxic relationships. They no longer need to stay with a man just because they can provide for the family. Because a lot of times back then, women couldn't work. So even when the relationship gets toxic or even abusive, they stayed because they didn't work. They couldn't provide for themselves. So now because women are able to work, they no longer have to stay in these abusive or toxic relationships. They can leave. They have the option to go out and find a better relationship. You know, because back in the day, women used to stay with men, no matter how they were treated. And power corrupts. When men have all the control, power corrupts them. When they have all the authority, it corrupts them. But there were definitely good men back in the day that did everything they were supposed to protect and provide for their women, to make sure that the family was happy and they had a happy wife. There definitely was that. So I can see the argument from both sides why the world is getting worse because it's not traditional, and why the world is getting better because it's more modern. There's always both sides to the story. There's always the good and there's always the bad. But this is a conversation that needs to be had. We can't just focus on, why everything was good back then. There were a lot of bad things back then. And there's a lot of good things now in the modern era. But there's also a lot of bad things. And I think this is something that we need to talk about. We need to have a conversation about. And this needs to be more expanded upon. And I think this problem of loneliness will get worse as technology advances even further, as we start to live in simulations and VR sets when we really don't have to go anywhere, and where the world is heading in terms of the metaverse, I think is going to get a lot worse. People are no longer going to want to go outside and have genuine interactions. They may want to, but the convenience of not having to go somewhere and being there is going to make us not physically want to get up and go there. It's going to make us more lazy. It's going to be a habit that we develop. And I think that's a huge problem that we're going to have in society. Because people are going to want to have genuine human interaction. But that means to get out of our comfort zone. And that's going to be hard because it's not going to be something that we're used to. We're not going to be used to going outside anymore. Because within the metaverse, we can go anywhere we want. And we could communicate with the whole world without actually being there physically, but still being there. But the thing is, it might actually solve some problems. It's one of those things where it may make us more lonely because we don't get that real physical contact. But at the same time, because we're able to be in this metaverse and have avatars and actually communicate, it may make some people actually more comfortable because you can hide behind these avatars. Some people are not very confident in the way they look, and they may not be as comfortable with themselves, but they can create an avatar that they're comfortable with, that they're confident being in. And you can see online dating slowly start to evolve, where it's no longer just a swipe and just chatting. You're online dating within the metaverse. You're online dating with avatars and actually being able to go to a movie without physically being there watching these movies. So in a weird way, it can help with loneliness, but it can also make you more lonely.